In this video, I'm going to explain Farcaster and why it's growing so rapidly. I think the best description of Farcaster comes from the founder, Dan Romero, who calls it a mullet. Web 2 in the front, crypto in the back. Technically, it's a sufficiently decentralized social network built on Ethereum. This is an especially interesting topic for me since my co-founders and I got our start working in crypto on the first decentralized social network, the Steem blockchain. The Farcaster team is taking a very similar approach to that taken by our previous company, building both the protocol and the flagship front end for the protocol. For Steem, that was a Reddit clone named steemit.com. And for Farcaster, that's Warpcast, which is a fantastic mobile app that I highly recommend checking out. It's really impressive, especially considering that they've taken on both the front and back end development. But the founding team has an incredible pedigree, having worked previously at Coinbase. There are two things that I see being responsible for the recent explosion in interest for Farcaster. First, it migrated from Ethereum to Optimism, a faster and lower cost Ethereum layer 2, basically a blockchain on top of a blockchain, which has enabled them to add permissionless signups, which is huge. Now, if you know anything about Koinos, you know that we think permissionless access is super important because we built the first free to use blockchain. Removing friction is the only surefire way to increase usage, so this was definitely a smart move by the Farcaster team. The second thing they did was add a feature called Frames, which is basically a way to embed little apps inside of posts while eliminating the possibility of malicious crypto hacks. This makes Farcaster into a much richer sandbox for developers, while also making it easier and safer for users to interact with blockchain-based applications. That's a killer combo. Farcaster is not a blockchain itself, so the content isn't stored on an immutable ledger, but that's actually a great way to do it. They basically use Ethereum accounts to take advantage of the financial features of a blockchain, but they store all the content on a separate network that doesn't give quite the same guarantees as a blockchain, but it's perfectly sufficient for things like posts, direct messages, and group chats. The thing about social content is that most content isn't valuable, and blockchains are really all about storing valuable information. That's why they're highly redundant, secure, and censorship resistant, which means that they're a relatively expensive way to store information, even on Koinos, which is free to use. While Koinos doesn't have any gas fees or account creation fees, in order to use the network, someone, usually the developer, needs to allow some of their tokens to get locked. Now, this locking happens automatically behind the scenes, and the protocol is designed to lock the least amount of tokens possible. So right now, the cost is low enough that people are willing to store content on the blockchain, and you can see that for yourself on Koinos Social. But that's mostly because Koinos is still new and underutilized for things like DeFi, NFTs, and use cases we can't even imagine yet. So eventually that content will move off chain and onto a protocol like Farcaster. But now that you know what Farcaster is, what do you think about it? Is it a fad or is it the future?